Blog Talk Radio.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret. Silver wings upon their chest, these are men, America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 when the Green Beret. Trained to live off nature's land, trained in combat hand to hand, men who fight by night and day, courage take from the Green Beret. Silver wings upon their chest, these are men, America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 when the Green Beret. Back at home, a young wife waits. Her Green Beret has met his fate. He has died for those oppressed, leaving her this last request. Put silver wings on my son's chest, make him one of America's best. He'll be a man they'll test one day, have him win the Green Beret.
Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given. Together, we have the same mission. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. In your hearts are inscribed the values of service, sacrifice, and devotion. Now you must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. It is why our currency proudly declares, "In God we trust." And it's why we proudly proclaim that we are one nation under God. The story of America is the story of an adventure that began with deep faith, big dreams, and humble beginnings. The next generation of American leaders, never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit. Never quit. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. demand the best from yourself. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward. And always have the courage to be yourself. America is better when people put their faith into action. Pray to God and follow His teachings. Today, each of you begins a new chapter as well. When your story goes from here, it will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. As long as you have pride in your beliefs, courage in your convictions, and faith in God, then you will not fail. As long as America remains true to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its Creator, then our best days are yet to come. May God bless the class of 2017. May God bless the United States of America. And I just want to let you know that God blesses you. And I want to just say, you are special in every way. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
God bless America. There you go, huh? Yep. Well, if you missed last night's show, we talked about a number of things. It was pretty good. We did a late show last night. So, but tonight, of course, they're calling for violence. That's what they say. These wacky libtards that are out there, and they really are. I mean, you should hear some of these messages that they're promoting. I'm gonna play a couple minutes of one here now. They're out there on Twitter. This TikTok or whatever, talking about, they're just completely off the. Where are they getting this? Trump's going to be a dictator. Where are they getting this? Where? Somebody please call in tonight and explain to me, where are they getting this? That he's going to be a dictator? That and he's going to lock everybody up in prison. He's going to start rounding. He's going to use the military and round all the Americans up. And what the hell are they talking about? It's kind of like me, I guess, right? When they say I'm anti-government, even though my campaign was restore our republic, obey the Constitution. How is that anti-government? But let's listen to a couple minutes of this.
Going to those every few months. And I remember back when Trump first got elected, and then during the last election, they said, we see mainly liberals, and cell phones weren't working because there was a million people using them. But the message I was getting, hey, there's violence. There's people in blacks attacking the cops using tear gas. So we jogged down there. And there's people climbing the parapets, and people falling off, and police attacking people. I got hit in the face with tear gas 100 yards away. I said, we got to get up on this pile of chairs. They hadn't unpacked yet. They were all in bubble wrap, shrink wrap. And I said, don't go in. It's going to be Kent State being set up. Looks like this is a setup. And sure enough, it was. And it didn't go horribly like the feds wanted. And, of course, the million people there, 99% of them didn't participate. Most of the folks who got arrested got waved in once they opened the doors. They didn't know what was happening. Because you're like back in a crowd of a couple 100,000 that already got to the Capitol, and you don't know what's going on. It's the fog of war. And they're like, hey, they've opened the doors. We're going in. And I said to my crew, I said, we're not going in there. It's a setup. But you can't never have a rally again because the feds are going to try to set you up for provocateurs. And notice, at first, they could demonize America and Trump, but very quickly it came out the feds were behind it. And now January 6th is something that exposes them. And the J6 fake committee with Liz Cheney and Raskin destroyed all the interviews with myself and others. I took the fifth. I knew they'd charge me, put me in jail like, man, so I just got there and said, you are criminals, you lie. I take the fifth not out of self-incrimination, but out of the fact that you will lie about what I said and claim that I perjured myself, and so I'm not talking. And I said, I take the Fifth Amendment 98 times with Jamie Raskin asking the questions. And Adam Schiff and all of them, and Liz Cheney staring at me like they wanted to kill me. And 3 or 4 of the times I said, you are criminals. This is all fake. This committee's not real. I take the fifth. You are criminals. This is fake. I take the fifth. Not because I'm a criminal, but because you're a criminal. Told them that to their face. You're a criminal. Of course, they destroyed the video of all that. They put out one photo of me testifying in Congress on a jumbotron above them because they wanted remote. They have their big committee hearing with me on a big giant television, like 1984, behind the dais, behind them. They had TVs in front of them. And I said, you are criminals. I will not answer the questions of criminals. Bannon just spent 4 months, and he had his right to do it. He had executive privilege. He works at the White House, so they can't ask those questions. But the point is that I've been there. I've seen it. And so the next time we have a big rally or events, people know what they're looking for. This was a good exercise. I'm sad we got set up and it happened and walked into a trap. But now we've been through another war. Now we've learned more. Now we know more of their tricks. It's not like I'm just up here for 30 years behind a microphone. I've been all over the place. I've learned a lot, mainly from my mistakes. And so and I saw conservatives never want to go to rallies anymore because of that. But now people have gotten over that fear. Well, some people were calling me a traitor that day. Not a lot, but I'm like, don't go in. It's a setup. Screw you. We're taking the country back. Alex, you're a pussy. I'm like, yeah, you're about to get set up. And that's where we are. And they're getting ready to stage stuff much bigger than J6. I don't know the permutation, exactly where they'll hit, but that's the next move. And that's why I'm like a parrot just saying, get ready for that. Because I'm trying to get enough heat on it, enough eyes on it, enough light on it, where they don't do that. And where whistleblowers inside the system expose it. And that's what they're really worried about. So, yes, we are winning. Yes, we have the initiative. Yes, we've turned the tide. Yes, Trump's set to win in a landslide, but they'll mitigate it with fraud. They may be able to steal it. My gut tells me they can't because no one's going to buy it. But if they stage terror attacks and blame us, that'll be the news story to divert off of that, and they're crazy enough to try it. So I'm telling you what I think's going on, and I've got a pretty good record. It's actually insanely accurate. And to me, it's so easy to see it. I mean, it's not hard. They're not on every TV program and every newspaper saying Trump supporters are going to kill black people, and there's no evidence. People are like, that doesn't make sense. They're about to supply it. Think about Jussie Smollett times a million. He was a Lone Ranger out there, a cowboy. But they'll do it big. They'll try to do it right. But notice their Whitmer set up fake kidnapping. That blew up in their face. And bad things happened to the FBI agents that ran that, and not from us, from their own selves. They all just got destroyed because God is sick of this crap. So, yeah, God's moving. But God hates cowards. And if you won't speak up today, you'll sure as hell never fight tomorrow if it comes to that. All right, let's go back to your calls. But I think I answered the man's question. Michael in Oregon, we're talking about the election. We're wargaming it. Michael, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Times it's the best of times. You know, the creatures from the left lagoon are going to come out of every sewer drain, every place they got hiding. And, you know, this is not going to be fun. This is going to get really bad in my opinion, my eyes. I even had vivid dreams about this. You know, these people, we're going to have to fight these people. They're broken minds. They're out of control. I've had people from my neighbors banging on my door, you know, having mental breakdowns, telling me they know I'm a Trump supporter, they know what I voted for. You know, I live out in Portland where I feel like it's like the land of 300 out here, and it's a few of us and a lot of them, and it's going to get crazy. And I just feel like I need to go relocate, get to somewhere where I can actually be around like-minded people, where I don't feel like I'm about to walk into an army of, you know, from Antifa to everything else. They're just causing mayhem around here. The burning of the mailbox voting and all that stuff, that's just the beginning. This is priming the pump. This next days all the way to January are going to be the most dangerous days we got alive, ladies and gentlemen. We need to stay vigilant, ready, and just be ready for anything. I'm telling you, they're getting ready to push the envelope to the extreme of all extremes.
I agree. I use the analogy all the time. It's the best one. Episode 4 Star Wars, where the X-Wings are going in attack position into the Death Star. And
all right, there you have it right there. So that's the vibe, really. That's one caller. I could play several more, but that's the vibe, I guess, from what people are getting around the country. And I don't see it in my area, but then again, I'm out in the country, and I'm in a pretty constitutional. There's more Constitution Party people, more that type. Ron Paul support in my area. The libtards pretty much stay to themselves in my area. But if I was to venture off into Greensboro or Winston-Salem, then you go into the hippie zone. You get into the zombie land. You know, you got a lot of kooks out there. And, a real lot of kooks. There are some strange people. And, you know, the ones walking around, the 6-foot lesbians with the purple hair, stuff like that. You know, the big time zombies, and with the nose rings, and and their earlobes that are all round. They look like big hooks. Weirdos, and implants on their foreheads and stuff. The real weirdos that are in society. I was talking to a Mexican today. He's working at over one of my buddy's houses and doing some remodeling, and there's a Mexican, barely speaks English. And, I was talking to him, and I said, I said, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but, you're here illegally, right? And he goes, oh, yeah. And I said, yeah, right. I'm trying to, get him, but I think he is here illegally. So anyway, I said, well, you going to vote? And he said, oh, I support Trump, and I said, even though he wants to deport most of your people, he says, hey, I came here legally. They should come here legally. I said, the gangs, he goes, I'm no part of that kind of stuff. So, and then we were talking about landscape and cutting down trees and everything and stuff like that. But, whether or not he was just saying that, I don't know. I'm a pretty good read on people. He's a worker, obviously. He's got his own little business on the side. So he works hard, obviously. I've seen the work he does. So, he's probably not a bad dude, and he probably did come here legally, and hey, that more power to him. I don't have a problem with that, and that's how I am. I'll ask people straight out, are you here legally or not? I'm not going to snitch on you right now. I'm just saying, but are you here legally? I need to know, who's my enemy, I'll ask them flat out. Sometimes they look at me like I'm crazy. Sometimes they walk away. Or they could talk to me like a man, simple as that. Because, but that's how it is. But these libtards are spreading around messages on TikTok. I was hoping he would have played that. I was trying to get that one where this one guy was on TikTok just telling everybody, if you're out and about, don't talk about politics. They said, they're coming for us, talking about they need to lock and load these liberals, talking about getting guns and everything, trying to attack us if anyone supports Trump. If one of us was to say something like that, our houses would be flashbanged and we'd be rounded up in a second. This guy's on TikTok saying that. That video should have been flagged if that was one of us. Hell, I can't put up a picture of the 3%ers on my Facebook page without getting suspended for 30 days. So what the hell is going on? So, and they're crying They're crying that they don't have any rights. So they're scared to death of Trump. They're scared to death, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I mean, I'm telling you, it's been 4 years of hell, man. It has. You know, I mean, these libtards. So let me take the caller here, because I don't like to make people wait too long here. Go ahead there, 330.
Well, let's talk about fucking hypocrites. Donald Trump going to sit there and tell you he's with God and everything else. In the same year that you played from that video, I can send you the video and you can play it. 2017, this guy converted to Judaism in the Oval Office of the White House. CNN had the story in 17 and held it, and they didn't find it until 2019. And they
well, then if he converted to Judaism, if he converted to Judaism, then why are they saying he's an anti-Semite then?
He's a Jew. They're both playing just like the Jews did at every war. Both sides of it. He didn't lock a
Dave,
single.
I don't think. Dave, I know his children. I know his children are.
Hey, he didn't lock a single person up while he was in office in 4 years. Not one. But you know what he did do? He freed one of Israel.
Well, he can't, Dave. Dave, he can't lock anybody. If he did, he'd be a tyrant.
Do you think he's going to do mass deportation?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
He can't.
Well, no, he can. No, hang on. He can. He can implement the 1798 Sedition Act. He can implement that.
No. You know why? Every jail we have in this country is at max. Overloaded already with the people we have in them now. Who is going to round up who, and where are they going to put them?
Well, listen. They can't listen now. They can open up. Listen to me. Hang on a second. They have facilities. Because they have those what are they, fusion centers. They can open up temporary facilities, and listen, it's going to be the U.S. Marshals. If you go read the 1798 Sedition Act. The president has the power to implement that.
Buddy. They've got you buttered up.
I'm just going on what the tape. I'm only going on what he says. If he promises, that's what he's going to do. Now, if he lies, then I'll be right with you.
He's going to lock up Hillary Clinton, too.
Hang on. No, he didn't. He never said he was going to lock her up. No, he didn't.
Everybody
never said
now,
that.
Now everybody says, oh, he didn't say that. Bullshit.
He never said that he was going to lock her up. Now, Dave, let me ask you a question. If he would have told Bob Barr to lock up Hillary Clinton, let's just say, do you think he would have done it? No. He wouldn't have never done it.
He is not going to do shit to nobody because he's part of the plan. He sits at the table with them at the end of the night and laughs at all of us. Keep funding.
I don't know about that.
Trump. Now they're going to do Joe. All they want is another 4 years of your tax money to send to Israel.
Dave, listen, if you're right, listen, Dave, at the end, listen, if Trump doesn't do what he said, you're right. I'll be right there with you. I'll be right there saying you were right. But as of right now, I have to go with Trump. I can't go with Harris. You know,
I'm not saying go with Harris. I'm not saying go with Harris. I'm by no confidence. That's exactly what everybody should do, for no confidence. Because you know what? That says it all. We are in a captured entity. People don't understand this. Our government has failed us. We have been failed, okay? The Second Amendment of our Constitution obligates us as United States American citizens to, the Second Amendment says to stop a tyrannical government, you must bear arms. We have been a captured entity since 1912. Woodrow Wilson was the first one blackmailed by the Jews when they took him and they got him to cheat on his wife. They had 4 candidates going into the presidency that year, and all 4 of them had been blackmailed. And it's never changed. Then you get the Fed, the Reserve comes in. They've got total control, Joe. And when we can't call it out and say what it is, then there's no Constitution. Because if you think what we have now is justifiable with what's happened at the border, how is that even? You can't even put that on it's not even thinkable to be okay with it. And Trump's going to save us. Bullshit. That
Okay.
guy,
Now let me
he's
say
as corrupt
something.
as
All
the rest
right,
of
hang
them.
on. Now let me say something. Now hang on. I never said Trump was going to save us, but we have got to have it. We have to have a hang on. Let me finish now.
I know.
We have got to have we have to have a government in place. We can't have chaos because we got idiots running around out there. We got to have some institutional government, you know.
There's a shadow.
We got to.
The military can run a shadow government just like they've been doing. They've been trying to do it, and you know what? I don't know if they're corrupt anymore either. I don't know. But here's the thing.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
We didn't. 3% of the Americans in 1776 said enough of this bullshit. Enough of it.
I agree 100%. Listen, the United States is a corporation. I agree.
4 more years. What do we got? So we're hoping for Trump. Okay, yay. He gets in. I'm telling you, he didn't do enough for us the first 4 years except plan this whole thing to just stretch this out as far as they can. Because eventually, Joe, the liars come out. We find out who they are, and we call them out. And we're doing it more and more and more until they stop First Amendment. Then we're screwed. But
well, this is what I want to see happen, Jay. Look, this is what I want to see happen. I want to see those people from January 6th. Hang on. I want to see those people from January 6th pardoned. I want to see them pardoned and released from prison. That's one right there. And I want to see the mass roundups of these illegal immigrants. Now, if Trump does not follow through with those two right there, then you're right. I'll be right here on this podcast show, and I'll say you're 100% right, and he's a sellout.
First thing he's got to do is the January 6th people, 100%. The second thing ain't deportation. The second thing is take these sons of bitches in sanctuary cities that let these people have sanctuary that are here illegally. They invite them. He has to shut it down, and he has to enforce the border. Now, you can't throw them over the wall unless the wall's there. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I'd say get about 500
and if he doesn't do it, and listen, I don't want to hear this 3 years from now where that he's still on it, he's still working on it. He needs to do this the first 6 months.
Hey,
first 6 months.
It ain't going to happen in the first month. You look at the process you got to go through. You got to sort these people out because you got to remember all these bastards come across here. They've went through that CBP app. They've got paperwork for asylum. They have legitimate claim to go to court.
I know.
We just can't process.
They do.
So now there's the problem. So what, we're going to wait 13 years? That's the earliest some of them are getting in New York City. 13 years. That's two more presidencies.
Do me a favor. Hang on, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull up the 17-night. Listen, this is what he's saying that he's going to implement. Now, this is the law. It's in the federal codes, and Trump can implement this. If he implements this, there's no process. It goes in effect right away, and nobody can question it. If they question it, I'm going to try to get it pulled up here.
Well, hey, I've been talking to a sheriff in your state a lot. Let me tell you something.
Yep.
These constitutional sheriffs have done us in. There's not enough of them that are going to stand by us. Here's what can happen. The ones that are good, the very ones that are good, can deputize every single American citizen that they want. They have that ability. Now, we don't want trouble. We're going to give you the option. You can voluntarily get on the boat and beat it. Or you deal with the consequences and when we find you. Because when we find you, you are going to be here illegally. You are an invader, and you are a threat. Only way to look at this, because if they don't voluntarily go back, we got a problem.
Yeah. All right. Now, let me read some of this. Yeah, but this bypasses what you're saying right here. Now, hang on. All right. Now, this is what it's called. It's called the Fifth Congress of the United States. This is an act concerning aliens, okay? Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America, Congress assembled. Thou shalt it be lawful for the President of the United States at any time during the continuance of this act to order all such aliens as he shall judge dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States, or shall have reasonable grounds to suspect or concern in any treasonable or secret machinist against the government, therefore, to deport out of the territory of the United States within such time as shall be expressed in such order, which order shall be served on such alien by delivering him a copy thereof or leaving the same at his usual abode and return to the office of the Secretary of State by the marshals. So he can appoint all the U.S. marshals to go do this. That means he can appoint. Now, like you said, there's a paper trail with these people. There's a paper trail. So these marshals can go right to wherever they're hanging out and snatch them up.
However honest it is, well, we know that's not going to happen. Hell, Christ, these son guns, they get over here and they get their money and they throw their phones away so they can't be tracked.
Well, yeah, they hide. I know. You're going to aliens. But listen, these guys ain't stupid. These U.S. Marshals got technology, man. Believe me, you know that. Come on.
No,
if they want, they want to get somebody, they can find somebody.
There's nobody better. There's nobody better than to do this than the citizens who interact with them every day. That's it.
Well, yeah, deputized.
You can't hide from us. You can't expect some. How many U.S.
But you know what's going to happen though? You know what's going to happen though, Dave? You're going to get some idiot out there, some idiot who's going to do something stupid. And he's going to kill a child, or he's going to kill a family that that was surrendering, and somebody's going to get it on videotape. And guess what? Then you got the whole country in an uproar.
Let me tell you something. That very may well happen. But you know what? We've already lost too many goddamn lives over the ones that are here illegally.
I know.
That's a fact. So if we've got one rogue bastard, we'll lock his ass up and string him up too. But that can't
I don't think it's the illegals we got to worry about. I don't think it's illegal. I think it's our own people we got to worry about. These liberals. Well, those are the ones we got to worry about. They're nut jobs. Hey, I mean, these lesbians running around 6 feet tall, purple hair.
This big ordeal coming up here, this fake election, and everybody thinks that they're going to vote. Don't be a bit surprised if Kamala Harris wins. Don't be one bit surprised if they slide.
I know.
What you tell me what state changed something to change the balloting process
None.
Change? Exactly. It's not. It could be the shit show of all times because they could be doing it.
It sure could.
And it would stir.
Man,
we're not
I tell you what.
We're not going to be. Hey,
I was at the polls.
We'll be rowdy. I'm sure about that.
I was at the polls, man. I was at the polls, and I'm going to tell you right now, every single exit poll has Trump winning by 5 to 7 to 10 points.
Joe,
and even in I mean, come on. I was there, and I didn't get one damn liberal vote. I'll tell you that right now.
Take them polls and go get you 6 strippers and watch them dance around it. That's all they're good for.
Well, I know that. But
there ain't no poll that I put no trust in because you've already watched what happened in 20 and 16.
Look what happened to me.
Exactly my point. This is not a psyop. This is an operation to completely demoralize and dismantle this country, patriot by patriot, because that is all that is holding this country together is the fear of us having retaliation because we are armed, and they know it. Yeah. And I mean, if it has to come to that, then it comes to it. I don't want that, but you know what? I don't see these people leaving. I don't see these people going. I see more people that have sense like you and I that went and got the COVID jab. Let's call the ones that got the Jew jab, and they've got guns. They got the guns too. They'll be the ones that hand them over. They'll be the ones that when the feds knock on the door, they'll say, "Here's my guns. I'm sorry." Don't be a bit surprised if that happens.
And they'll be turning you in.
Well, there'll be a problem then. We'll have ourselves a 5 minutes alone, like Pantera says. We'll have to do what we got to do. You're not taking my fucking guns. You're not taking my.
That's right. Amen to that.
You'll have to take my fucking life. You'll have to take my life.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
That's right.
And
just listen, I played this last night, the Second Amendment. I played this last night about the Second Amendment. It was one of the best documentaries I ever heard on it. Listen, they are not supposed to be regulating anything about the Second Amendment. What shall not be infringed? Simple as that.
That's right.
Simple as that.
That's right.
None of this regulation crap.
I got a clip I want to send you to play from, Jamie Raskin, and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He was on
Facebook. I'll play it.
Yeah, he was on a panel yesterday. I think there's about 6 of them. And when you see this, it's only about maybe 45. Maybe I don't even think it's 45 seconds long. But when you hear what this guy says, you're going to shit. You are going to go, what in the beep, 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 beep. And there's going to be the guy that stirs the pot. I'll send it to you. Go ahead and play your clip if you want.
You send it to me on Facebook. I'll play it real quick, and I got another caller here. But I'll play the clip first if you send it to me on Facebook.
Okay, hang on.
Get it up.
No.
Go ahead and send it, and I'll play it. It says about a minute long.
It's definitely under a minute for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, I'll play it as long as I can hear it clearly. And then I got another caller, a couple callers actually.
And these damn people that these politicians that are in office now, all of them that have this mentality that
they're traitors.
I just listened to what is that guy's name? First name Hawley, Jim Hawley, John, the guy from Missouri.
Hawley, I don't know.
Hawley. Yeah, he's real slick. He's got slick black hair. He looks like a young guy, clean cut guy. He speaks very well, and he's very, very articulate with what he says.
Yeah, let me connect Sarge here. I think this is Sarge.
But you should hear what these people are talking about with Joe, with these books that these kids they read a couple.
Oh, I know, they're off the hook.
Oh my God, I about threw up.
Yeah, go ahead, private caller.
Well, you know what, Joe? I'm listening to what Dave is saying, and you know what? I don't know if what Dave is saying is going to come to pass or not. But I tell you one damn thing. I cannot discount it because, you know what, I've seen things happen in the last 3.5 years I never thought I would see at that level in my lifetime until this country was on the verge of collapse. But I've seen it. So I cannot discount it. And I'm going to tell you another thing, too. Even though I'm not sure the scenario Dave envisions is going to come to pass, I have planned for it as though it will. I have made my plans and secured my supplies and everything else on the eventuality that what Dave envisions will come to pass. So I'm not saying it will, and I'm saying I do think we have, unlike Dave, this is where Dave and I diverge. I do think we have options to head off the Armageddon that he says is inevitable and cannot be stopped. It seems to me he's saying that anyway. I think it is possible to head it off. It will be difficult. The road ahead is going to be rocky, and it sure as hell is uncertain. I do not think it is impossible. And I will tell you how you have to do it. It's like anything else. It's like if you're eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We got to look at it that way. You can't eat it in one sitting in just a couple of minutes. It's not going to happen, even if it's possible. You've got to prioritize what your objectives are. You got to go after the most important ones first, put your resources there, figure out ways to eliminate the other obstacles in your way, and approach it in a methodical, bit-by-bit operation. That's the only way you can do it, if it's going to be done, without an Armageddon where everything goes to hell and we go back to living like we were, I don't know, maybe in Stone Age, because everything will be ruined and be shot to hell and fall apart. So I'm just saying, I think it's possible, and I think it is not possible with any other candidate right now other than Donald Trump, no matter what his failings may be. It's not conceivable it can happen any other way than with ruin with Kamala Harris. That's an option that's not even conceivable. The other candidates don't have a prayer of winning. Donald Trump is the only one who's pledged to do these things. Let us not forget, when it came to immigration, the border was the most secure it has been in 40 or 50 years up to that time. In terms of border encounters that the Border Patrol and ICE was measuring. The numbers were simply down enormously. Now remember, Greg Abbott has done a pretty good job of securing the Texas border. One of the reasons the numbers are down the way they are right now is because of the actions of Greg Abbott in Texas. You take what Greg Abbott has done in Texas with what Trump's government will undoubtedly do on day one and certainly in the first 100 days, and I think you'll see a considerable reduction in encounters on the border. Next, he can concentrate on removing the criminal illegal aliens that propose the greatest immediate danger, of which there's not that much argument, even from sanctuary cities, about getting rid of most of them, like Trende Arugua. Okay, you can get them guys out. Okay, then you can start. That's going to keep you busy for a little while. That'll set the stage and also give you operational experience to figure out how to go after the next class of illegals, the ones who are sopping up the welfare bennies and the ones who are doing the welfare fraud, the nonviolent crimes that cost us billions of dollars a year. We go after that class next. And that'll take at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to make a significant dent in that particular population. Then you figure out a way to go after the sanctuary cities and states. Now, that I haven't figured out exactly yet. There's got to be a way to undermine their hold on preventing the federal government from doing its job. I think it is possible. While we're doing the two things that we can get a pretty broad consensus on doing, we'll figure out the rest of it later after we make a dent and show successful results in those first two categories. So I don't think it's impossible. It's going to be hard. It will not come easily. This has been going on since well before the Bush administration. They really started this thing in motion on a big scale. The Bush administration started this crap. But it's been going on for ever since the end of the Eisenhower administration. So it's going to take a while. It ain't going to be easy. And there's no one else on the scene with the remote possibility of using the power of the executive other than Donald Trump, proven track record of doing things that are significant. So I'm saying, hey, I don't think
I hope so.
But in the meantime, I'm gonna keep hoping for the best, and like you kind of suggest, Dave, I'm preparing for the worst.
It's the only thing we can do, Sarge. And I sure as the hell hope you're right, because it's like you said, in 3.5 years, I've seen more shit than I have seen in my entire life, and can't believe how bad it's gone. Just upside down, man. Just a 180 for the worst. And then you know what? It's not about us. It's about the kids. These kids are the future of the children, because that's what's at stake here. This country's at stake with the future of the children. We have to start the fight to put it up and stop it, but it's not. We're not going to see the fruitions of this. I don't believe we're going to see it in our time.
We're not. We're not.
Right.
No, we're not. We're going to be dead before it's all fixed.
We don't start it, it'll never get done.
Well, yeah, and that's the reason why, that's the reason why I'm not discounting everything you said. Believe me, I'm not. I'm just as alarmed as what you're saying. I never thought I would see the things I'm seeing. I never thought we would have a serious contender for President of the United States who says things like we have the courage to stop using terms like illegal aliens, which is in the law. That is a term in the law. And she tells us we need to stop saying illegal aliens. And then on top of it, she wants taxpayers to pay money that to sexually mutilate themselves. I never thought I would see this, but here we are. So I can't discount anything anymore. And I won't.
I talked to a sheriff in North Carolina. I was telling Joe, and he has one thing he said to me today. He goes, you know what? He goes, the last time in this country that illegal immigrants came across the border and were uniformed and were weaponized, they burned and marched right up through the South.
Right. Yeah.
I said,
yeah.
That's honest to damn truth, too.
Yeah. That's General Sherman about that one. Yeah, he'll tell you all about how he did it. But let's not forget the War of 1812 did the same thing. They even burned down the White House.
Yeah.
So, it's happened before. But look, I got to keep in mind, y'all, what happened. We had resolute people once upon a time with some guts, like when they raided Columbus, Texas, and Pancho Villa. Yeah. And he had a major there named Tompkins who chased their asses 20 miles into Mexico and killed 150 or 179 of them. A guy named Major Tompkins. And the people of Columbus repelled the invasion. And in the process of their doing what they did, they killed about 79 Villistas, because there was an army garrison there. It had the first machine guns the army had bought. They had 2 or 3 of them. And they had soldiers there. They were stationed there with the Springfield rifles and the 45 automatics and whatnot. And when Villistas came across the border, they got in a hellacious gunfight. And they drove them back across the border. And like I said, Major Tompkins chased them 15 miles into Mexico and killed another 179 of them.
Point made.
Well.
And he got some superficial wounds, and one other soldier in his outfit got superficial wounds, and they gave him the Distinguished Service Cross. They didn't give him the Medal of Honor because they thought, well, they'd have to have too big an investigation for that, and they didn't want a diplomatic row anymore, and they were already having. But that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. And that was in 1916.
In diplomacy, you go out the window. If you want diplomacy before you have to have a goddamn country before you have diplomacy. I mean, what the hell are we talking about here?
Well, look at this Marxist down there. There's no doubt counting on Kamala Harris getting elected. She's hoping and praying to probably sending some money down there to help ensure that happens. And we know what's going to happen if she gets in league with Kamala Harris and how the border is going to turn. They're going to get together and cooperate to make it easier to bring more illegals into the country and then send more money from the United States back to Mexico.
I heard
the transfer of wealth will grow enormously.
I heard a guy today say, we better hope to hell that Mike Lindell didn't hook up with Kamala Harris and give her a pillow to stand on every mattress that she stood on to get to where she's at, because if so, she's going straight to the top.
Man, I swear, she damn sure am. She is literally the worst creature I have ever seen. That I never conceived something like Kamala Harris would be in contention to be president of the United States. And I got to keep stressing, she ain't even constitutionally qualified. She ain't even constitutionally qualified.
Why, though?
Because America is the greatest. The United States is the greatest bulwark and obstacle to the implementation of worldwide globalist government. There's no other bigger single obstacle than the United States with its Constitution, its liberty, and its sovereignty. No other country poses a bigger threat to the establishment of that sort of government than the United States. They have to get rid of it to succeed. As it is presently constituted, certainly as it used to be constituted, they've got to get rid of it as that sort of obstacle.
Why global government?
And Joe, you asked another question at the beginning of the show. Why are they going after Donald Trump, and why do they do what? Let me tell you why. Because they're Nazis. They are the real Nazis. They are the projections. They cannot conceive of someone. Wait a minute. They cannot conceive that someone with the power that they had when they persecuted Trump would not do the same thing to them. They know what they did was wrong. They know they wielded constitutional or allegedly constitutional and governmental power to persecute an individual. And if the shoe is on the other foot, they simply cannot conceive that he will not do the same thing to them, because they know how evil they are, and they think everyone else has the capability to be just as evil as they are. That's why, Joe.
Joe, do you remember when I told you back, and we were talking to Mike, and I said, listen, there's one of two things that are going to happen. This was almost 4 years ago. I said, Donald Trump's either playing the best, know your enemy, you have to sleep with them, and he's in bed with them. And he made the ultimate sacrifice by doing so, because he has involved his entire family in this religion, in this cult that they believe in. If he had done that, and that's what he's going to do, God bless him, and I will apologize. I might walk around naked and apologize, but I will say this. If he hasn't, we're in trouble. He has got to turn on these people like you said, Jared Kushner, his grandkid, it's a big deal, man. And if they got a hold of him and he's bought and paid for and he's playing the role, he's either the most absolute, I don't even know what you want to call it, Emmy award-winning actor to pull it off. But also,
it's diabolical. It's diabolical if he's against this.
If he got in bed with them, and if he got in bed with them, and they all had the plan and knew what was coming to do this, then hey. Then let's do one. Let's make it 109 countries. Let's make it 110, and it never happen again.
What's someone saying in the chat room that Nazis won in World War II? What are they talking about? Nazis won in World War II. What are you talking about?
Who said that?
Ashkenazi.
Someone in the chat room. They said Nazis, though, but they're saying Nazis won. I don't know what they're talking about.
They got the Ashkenazi sect of the Jewish cult they had. That's what that's where that comes from. Some of that Ashkenazi.
Yeah.
What else do you got to say about it? I sent you that clip.
Yeah.
40
all right. Yeah. Let me check out that clip here real quick. About a minute long here. Hang on.
This Raskin guy, I tell you what, there ain't a bus he could cross in front of that I wouldn't drive. He's a piece of shit.
Hey, you talk about somebody who's ready to lead an insurrection. He's all but ready to lead a government-led insurrection. He said so.
Wait till you hear this, Sarge. This was yesterday.
All right, hang on. I got to get ready to play it, guys. Hang on. All right, hang on here. Come on. Everything won't start all over. Come on. No, it's one of those TikTok ones when you got to start all over. Hang on.
No. I clipped it for you, but it's Tim Poolby sitting in the very.
Yeah. I see what I'm doing wrong here. Hang on. All right, here we go. All right, guys. All right, I'm gonna play it now. Hang on.
not allowed to be president.
So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified, and then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new census so we can bring that back to life, even as we're continuing to amend the Constitution as Professor Hassan's invited us to do.
What? And not allowed to be president.
Who in the fuck is this guy talking about that amend the Constitution? I couldn't get it. I think his name's Hassan.
Well, look. They're going to use the 14th Amendment as the basis if they get enough votes in Congress, enough members of the House of Representatives. They're going to use the 14th Amendment, Section 3, as a basis to keep Trump from taking power by voting that he engaged. They're going to take a vote on the floor of both houses of Congress that he engaged in insurrection. Now, that assumes they get enough people to force a vote like that on the House floor. That would mean Congress will have enforced Section 3 of the 14th Amendment like it says, because that's what it says. It says that it says that Congress has Section 5. It says that the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. So what does that mean? That means that if they take a vote and pass an appropriate law that says that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection and then take a vote on that basis, they could conceivably prevent him from taking the White House. That is contingent upon them getting enough people in Congress to force that sort of a vote.
Yep. That's what Raskin's saying. He goes, the Supreme Court hasn't done their job, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and do that. We're going to
the Supreme Court did the job. No, they did the job. They told these fools, you are the ones to enforce the 14th Amendment like the Constitution says. And they are banking that they may be able to get enough support in Congress to do what the Constitution says they can do.
They probably will, too. That's another thing.
So it wouldn't be like Colorado, the idiot Supreme Court in Colorado, or the dumbass Secretary of State in Maine deciding to enforce it on their own authority, of which they have none to enforce it. But the Constitution explicitly gives the authority to enforce the 14th Amendment to the Congress of the United States. And what Raskin is saying, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We are going to enforce the 14th Amendment against Donald Trump. Now, how they're going to do that, depending on how they do that, if the people see it as illegitimate, that might spark a counter coup. If the people see what their actions are as being illegitimate, you are blocking our choice from president of taking power. The people can say, oh, fuck you. We're going to stop your ass. You can't do this. People have the people have the ultimate authority. But let's not pretend that the Constitution does not give them the authority to enforce the article. It does.
That's right.
The question is, if they do it, will it be seen as being legitimate?
Didn't we have a problem last year when they wanted a recount and somebody was wanting a vote and they would not give it to them on the floor?
Say again?
Didn't they want a recount in 20 on the floor?
Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yes. On the Electoral Count Act of 1877. Yeah. You're damn right. 148 members of the House of Representatives and the Senate before the January 6th had expressed their intention to object to the electoral count on the basis of the Electoral Count Act of 1877. And the riot, not the insurrection, but the riot prevented that parliamentary notion because it gave Nancy Pelosi the excuse to invoke the emergency rules of the House with regard to taking the electoral count. They said, well, the insurrection, you got to suspend all the parliamentary objections to the election, and you got to vote either up or down on the election. See, so that's why I don't believe Trump. That's why I don't believe Trump had anything to do with that riot, because it prevented him from having a constitutional means of opposing the election and getting an automatic. Even if that had failed, even if the House vote on not certifying an election had failed, it would have given Trump a basis to take it to the Supreme Court.
Okay. I'm not worried about 2020 anymore. What can they do now? What can they do? Don't forget, we're going to have 2 months now before Trump is sworn in.
Well, what happened in 2020?
Like I said, they can do what.
What Raskin
Well, they can do what we just talked about, what Jamie Raskin has suggested. If they get seats in the House and the Senate, that's what they can do.
But those seats don't get sworn in yet. I mean, how soon do
No, they
those
get sworn in before. They'll be sworn in before January 20th, and there will be an operating Congress. No, they get. That's the reason why they get sworn in before the president does.
That's why he says he can.
So maybe, hey guys, listen to this. Listen to this, guys. Listen to the scenario. Listen to the scenario. Maybe they know they're letting Harris take the fall. They know she's going to lose, but that's what the real game is. They're letting us sleep, and they're going to take the House and the Senate, and then go that way, like you guys said.
There's 200. I think what is there? 200. Am I right when saying that 231 seats are up for fucking taking?
Right.
This time.
Every 2 years there's a House race, I mean, every 2 years they have every 2 years they have a race for the House.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of seats. A lot.
It is.
Yeah, a lot can flip.
Like
a lot of them can flip.
If they get enough corrupt ones or crooked ones, they will do what Raskin said.
They certainly will.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
They
got everybody sleeping because everyone's paying attention to the Trump race, and they're not paying attention to the other races.
That's right.
So
I'm just saying we got to be prepared for all of these things. Look, we got to have a complete understanding, A, of the Constitution, and B, of the extent to which Trump's opposition is willing to go to prevent his installation as president. We got to look at both of them. They are willing to do anything. I mean anything.
Our
remember
media
2018, right?
Whatsoever.
Remember 2018 when we thought there was going to be a red wave or whatever, and there wasn't. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember that? And the Democrats took the lead there in the House.
Yeah. And by the way, remember we talked about last night with that guy Josh Caldwell, and the way he went into great detail on how they stole the election in Georgia when he was being undercover recorded and didn't know he was being recorded, and put all that shit out when he even alluded to 2,000 mules, and he talked about one of the guys identified as 2,000 mules. He said he knew him, said he worked in the same union he does because he's a communications director for the AFL-CIO. Can you imagine that? He's also an official in the AFL-CIO.
Wow. Let me bring in 314 here. 314.
Embedded everywhere, just everywhere.
Yeah, go ahead, 314. I think that's
conservatives have got to start acting the role of the Lyndon B. Johnson, and they don't do it. They're too light.
Yeah.
They're too light, Joe.
They're fake.
They're too light.
I don't want to conserve anything. I don't want to conserve what's left of the Constitution. I want the whole Constitution.
This congressman that's talking that using this congressman that's talking and using the 14th Amendment, well, they need to send him a message. Are you going to recall him or send him a good message? And here's another thing. Can you imagine Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband's boyfriend, got life in prison over that debacle that they pulled off? Can you imagine that?
And then they let that character out of jail that was the one that stole all the money for the banks.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think I hear Piarki saying. And Piarki, you correct me if I ain't got this right. But I hear Piarki saying that he thinks the Republicans are not ruthless enough. And in that respect, to deal with what we're dealing with, because the Democrats are completely lawless, the Republicans are partially lawless, but the Democrats are utterly, totally, and absolutely lawless, and they haven't quite reached the stage of ruthlessness that the Democrats have already achieved. And in that respect, I got to agree with you, but then on the other hand, they at least make a showing of being having some fidelity to the rule of law. The Democrats are prepared to throw it out altogether. Yeah. And you're right, they are not ruthless as the Democrats are, and maybe that's a handicap.
We're not on par level with them. We're not tribal enough. We don't have enough want to take what's ours, that's rightfully ours, no matter what it is, from the people that have stolen it because we've been passive. We're content. We're complacent. We're content with just the everyday bullshit.
Well, yeah. Yeah, of course. That's how we are. That's how. And I'm not saying we as a whole. Cause I'm really a constitutional party guy. But but I was helping the Republicans at the polls last week. For my county commissioners and state senate. And that guy Alvin Robinson, I was out there handing out. Remember, I had him on the show. I was out there handing out his ticket. So I wish we had three parties.
How did that guy? He went from one night. He was the one that didn't show up for the vote for the aid, and then he turned around the next day. He turned him on the news, and he's all good to go. I don't know. I didn't even catch what happened with all that. Remember when we talked?
No, this is a different guy. It's a different guy. This guy's running for state senate. Alvin Robinson. Yeah, that's Mark Robinson.
Okay.
That's Mark Robinson.
Got the last name though. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, look. The question is, are the Republicans ever going to be as ruthless as the Democrats? Are they just in bed with them and making agreements with them not to rock the boat in specific times and places, or are they just cowardly, or is it a combination of all three? I don't know, but I know this much. The Republicans may have to get every bit as ruthless, if not more so, than the Democrats to prevent a coup on January 20th. That's all. That's all they have to see. They may have to get that ruthless.
All right, let me pose this question then. Let me pose this question to everybody then. Okay, sorry. All right, we wake up Wednesday morning, Harris won. What do you think? What do you think's happening? You just go first, Dave. What do you think's going to happen?
I would think that you're going to have a march on the Capitol. You're going to see another January 6th type movement. You're probably going to have Donald Trump come forward to actually push this where he knows how far they can take this because they've already run the first pass at it. Now they know what they can say and what they can do, where they're going to be at, and they're going to find out who are the true patriots that are pissed off and then show up there to lock them up or kill them, because why else would they have brought that directive forward again and made it very clear to everybody that the military has the ability to kill with lethality the American citizens in an uprising, if so deemed, by DOJ. Now, if that's what happens, that's why they did that, because they're going to say, hey, we told you. Look back here. We just had this. We told you people this was going to happen. Now you got to act right or you're going to get shot. And you're going to have Kent State all over again, times 50,000.
Well, I tell you where the damn marches should also go on. It should go on at your state houses, because they're the ones that's supposed to control that congressperson that they sent to Washington, D.C. Let's get down to the root. Let's get to that Secretary of State. That Secretary of State had a lot of power to not put that illegal idiot on the damn ballot. Start off where it begins. Give his power back to the state. Let the state know you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and all this stuff that's going on at Washington, D.C., that's because of it.
Will there be a state that comes forward that says this is all bullshit? Would it be Texas? Would it be Florida? Would it be a state that says, hey, we're not with this. We are totally against it, and here's what we're doing. We have put in place, here's our National Guard. We're going to make a stand because we believe that our presidency and our election and our Constitution has been completely destroyed and not recognized, and we could have a whole shit.
Untrustworthy.
Well, here's the thing. Joe, and to answer your question, I like to kind of piggyback on what Pianki just said, because Pianki made a very good point. Remember, the electoral vote of each of the states is transmitted to Congress by whatever official the state constitution says is responsible for transmitting that vote to Congress. And usually it's the Secretary of State. That individual has to take that vote, determine it's a valid, legal vote under their state election laws and rules, and then transmit their vote to Congress. I think we have to, like Frankie was saying, we need to put pressure on these individual officers, whomever they may be in each of the 50 states, and I don't know what's going to take to do that, but that's what's going to have to be done to make sure that electoral count is honest and true before it is certified and transmitted to Congress.
Yeah.
All right.
How long would that process
I would send a message to our electors. I would send a message to the electors that you don't cast no vote for that illegal Kamala Harris. That's your probably your last obstacle to her. She's illegal.
Yeah.
So why are you casting a vote for that illegal individual?
Bianchi, did you hear that video we just played that had Jamie Raskin talking?
No, he's heard it. He's heard it. He's heard it before. I know he has.
I probably heard it, but go ahead.
It was yesterday that Raskin. Well, you explain it better than I do, Sarge.
Yeah, well, look, what they are saying is they have a roadmap given to them by the Supreme Court. And by the way, the Supreme Court's ruling was constitutional because it essentially said that the authority to enforce the 14th Amendment lies with Congress. It's right there in Section 5. That's what it says. So what Jamie Raskin is talking about he's going to come up with is a mechanism, which is probably going to be illegitimate, by which Congress, and this assumes the Democrats take control of both houses of Congress. If they take control of both houses of Congress, they're going to force a vote on the fact that Trump did, in fact, commit insurrection, and on that basis, they're going to block his certification as President of the United States and install the number 2 recipient of the electoral votes, which will be, of course, Kamala Harris.
What state is Rassenberger from?
Raskin? I think it's from New York. He's one of the eastern states, I believe. Or he's either from New York or California. He's one of the more radical Democrats.
So he is
the ranking minority member of the House Judiciary Committee. That's what his real power is. He's the ranking minority member of the House Judiciary Committee, where all this stuff starts.
Well, what we got to do is send messages to our representatives at both levels. Don't go along with it. You go along with it, you cutting your own throat. The power, listen, please. The power lie in the state. Once you can't go to them idiots in Washington, D.C., they ain't gonna listen to you. They will listen to the threat of the state legislature and people in the state. That's how we gonna get rid of your ass.
Well,
I mean, what else you gonna do?
Well, here's how the people can keep from happening. Make sure you don't put enough Democrats in Congress to do it. Because that's what he's counting on, getting enough members of the House of Representatives and the Senate who go along with his scheme. If he doesn't have them, there's nothing he can do.
I agree with you. You know that woman that told the people in line to go home and come back tomorrow? I don't know who it was, but hell, they need to be paid a visit. Found out who the hell this person is, and you said they had a name tag. Would anybody read the name tag and see what the hell? They might have came out of a job at Target.
Who knows what is a voter protector? That's what the ID thing said. Voter protector. What the hell is that?
Whoever heard
I never
heard of no shit like that.
In Raskin from Maryland.
Was it official? Was it someone designated by an election official? And was that person designated under some authority of law in the state of Pennsylvania? I doubt it.
Can you see how? You know what this is tantamount? Wait a minute. You know what this is tantamount of? This is tantamount of a black man putting on a Klan robe and going to a Klan rally, and the wind blow it up. That's what you're looking at. They bold enough to do some shit like this.
I know. I got a question. I mean, what the hell is a voter protector? And under what authority does he act to protect the vote? Did they pass a law in Pennsylvania designating his office? I don't think they did. I think somebody just conjured up an ID badge, put a little harness around it, sling it around his neck, and decide when and where to sort the election.
Hey, and Raskin's from Maryland.
Okay, that sounds right. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Where did this happen at?
Pennsylvania. In York County. It happened in York County. Remember, we already got a scandal in Lancaster County where they got voter rolls in Lancaster County that have expanded with illegitimate voters that they mail in ballots to at the illegitimate addresses, which are not the addresses of these fictional people. Then they take the ballots and they harvest them and put them in as legitimate votes. Because the state mails them to these addresses. And now they got a similar scheme in York County. And now they arrested a Republican National Committee delegate and election committee woman for telling the voters to stay in the line and not leave the line when some thug wearing an ID badge told them to get out of line.
When the polls close, if you're standing in line, you're supposed to get able to go through and vote.
I know.
They put a cone behind you, letting people know this is the end. But anybody that's standing between that point and going in the door gets to go in and vote. These idiots telling the people you got to leave and come back tomorrow, that's a bunch of bull crap.
We got thugs, man. We got thugs in Pennsylvania and elsewhere where these Democrats are. These thugs are doing these crude tactics to try to interfere with the vote in the election. And Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice ain't going to do a goddamn thing about it.
He's one of the first ones we ought to lock up.
I tell you who should have done something about it was the sheriff in that damn county.
I would hope. That's state law. The sheriff can enforce state law. The sheriff can enforce state law.
You goddamn right he can. That's what the problem is. Everybody don't either know what their dutiful responsibility is, and they ain't doing it. That's the problem, Joe Gibson.
You got that right.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, how's it work when my sanctuary city, I got a 32-year-old Muslim mayor, puts his hand on the Bible, so we found out that it's not the Bible, it was the Quran.
Ellison? Keith Ellison?
Huh?
Keith Ellison did that, yeah.
Okay, but where was it at? Where did you do the swearing in at?
In Minnesota. He was I think he was elected Attorney General in Minnesota, and he took the oath of allegiance on the Quran.
Where was it done at? In courtroom? Or,
and in some governmental office, I think they give the oath of under Minnesota. I think they gave the oath of office in some state office somewhere.
I wonder if that's like contempt of Constitution or something.
You know, he did it here in City Council chambers.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to look and see. You got to look and see what the state says they got to take the oath at. But I think he took it in the state. As Attorney General, I think he took the oath of office in the State House of Minneapolis. What's the capital? What's the capital of Minnesota? Where's the capital of Minnesota?
You could take the oath anywhere, Sarge. You could take it in a plane 3,000 feet in the sky. It's just what you say, how you say it.
You can, but I mean, traditionally, there's a place that they take it. I mean, if you have to take it on an airplane like LBJ did, yeah, you can. But traditionally. But traditionally, they have a place to take the oath under normal circumstances.
Yeah, but what's the law
say? How big of a crowd they're expecting? Where they have it at?
Well, like you said, Joe, they can take it anywhere, especially if it's an emergency, like what LBJ did. LBJ took the oath of office in Air Force One.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not normal. Normally they have a ceremony on the steps of the Capitol, and the Supreme Court justice is there, and the Supreme Court justice gives the president the oath. That's tradition. But Kennedy was assassinated, and they wanted to get somebody in there with the authority of the nuclear codes right away, so they gave LBJ the oath of office on the Air Force One. It's a famous picture.
Bobby Kennedy didn't like that, though. You know, he didn't like that.
Well, there's nothing they can do about that. I mean, it called for it. You got to have a president. I mean, you can't leave the office vacant any longer than is absolutely necessary. It takes a while, a parade, and a ceremony, that would take days. So you got to get the president.
It's only formality anyway. Constitutionally.
No, it's not a formality. It's not. You cannot be president to take that oath. That's not a formality, Joe. You're wrong.
How about this?
You have to.
I didn't know that.
Read the Constitution. It says it right there. It says before he takes his office. This is what it says.
Go ahead.
But this is what it says.
I'll tell you something else. I wouldn't go to Washington, D.C. Why you going to go spend that money? Hotels, it's cold as hell. They ain't going to treat you right. You go in the restaurant, they're going to put snot and boogers in your food. No, go to your state house.
But Joe, listen up. This is in Article 2. This is what it says. And it leaves no room for doubt. Before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall, it doesn't say he may, or he might, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. It's a requirement. If he doesn't do it, he ain't president. It's got to be witnessed.
All right, now hang on.
So he took it that way.
All right, now hang on a second. Now, we'll also read what happens when the president is killed or is removed from office. What does that say?
Oh, that's the 22nd Amendment that governs that.
All right, what's it
and,
say?
Let me, and that doesn't change that fact. Let me tell you what it says in the 22nd Amendment, because let's see.
Before you read that, Sarge, this is what I was going to ask you guys about that. We haven't heard from Joe Biden. Okay, Joe Biden's still the president of this country. What happens if
says you?
He might be dead.
I know. I'm just saying. What happens if they say something? They do something, or let's say he dies before this all goes down, and she gets moved into the presidential position, and they declare martial law after the fact that they're trying to go after what Raskin's doing, and get these guys in there and do this, and eliminate him from becoming, or getting even the vote. I mean, where has Biden been?
Yeah.
What is he doing? He's a ghost.
He might
was out
be
yesterday.
dead. I don't know.
And he was out yesterday voting.
Oh, did he go to the right state?
I don't know. He was standing in a line.
He had the nerve to be pushing a woman out in a wheelchair.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
He must have been using her as a walker.
It looks so stupid.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, though, Joe, you look at the 20th Amendment, you look at Section 4. You look at the 20th Amendment, you look at Section 4, and it says, Section 4, 20th Amendment, the Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them, like if there's a tie vote in the electoral count, and for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the Senate may choose a vice president whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them. And then the next thing it says is the 25th Amendment, and it says that in case of the removal of the president from, that's Section 1, Amendment 25, in the case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. And whenever there's a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president.
Doesn't say nothing about swearing, Sarge. Doesn't say nothing about
wait a minute. No. Joe, I'm going to answer that specific thing you just said. Now, it says the vice president shall become president. That does not negate the fact that the president still got to take the oath before they take the office. They didn't mention that because the requirement to take the oath is part of the Constitution that was not repealed by any subsequent amendment.
But you see, it's conflicting there, though, because you said
made that argument where it said shall
in the beginning.
No, it's not conflicting. Look, no provision of the Constitution.
Time out. Let me ask the question. All right. So let's just say, for instance, he refuses to take the oath. Well, the Constitution says he shall be president. So what's that mean?
Then he won't be president then. They're not supposed to let him take
the
seat.
You can't be a president until you take the oath.
You can't. They won't. They should not let him. If they do, they are violating the Constitution.
Well, that's a mistake in the founders. The founders should have put that in there then, And that
they did. They said you shall take it. They did put it in there, Joe. They said you shall take it.
Let me say a damn word. I said they should have put it in the same amendment that he should be sworn in, the same just like they did in the second in Article 2 there.
Well, I tell you what, though, if it's a shall that they shall take it in order to be constitutional, well then it should be a shall that she should be a 14th Amendment citizen and also eligible by Article 2 to be a president.
Wait a minute.
Well, I know
if she's a 14th Amendment citizen, she is automatically ineligible to be president. If she's a 14th Amendment citizen, she's automatically ineligible.
And here's the thing too. We don't have to prove that she's a 14th Amendment citizen. She has to prove that. She has to prove that she's eligible. Why is it that the conservatives already got to jump over hoops, hurdles, and swim across the goddamn ocean to prove something? No, let them prove it.
Wait a minute, Pianki. If she proves she's a 14th Amendment, she has proved that she is ineligible.
Yeah.
A 14th Amendment citizen is not a natural-born citizen. They are a citizen by virtue of an amendment. A natural-born citizen is born a citizen with no other possible allegiance.
My point is why we always have to do the heavy lifting. Let them lift their own goddamn selves.
Well, see, I would like her to prove she's a 14th Amendment citizen without our bidding that she do so. I'd like her to go somewhere and say, this proves I am a citizen under the 14th Amendment, and let her present all the evidence on her own that she's a 14th Amendment citizen. By doing so, she has rendered herself ineligible.
Yeah, she's not going to. And,
but I'd love to see her prove that she's a 14th Amendment
citizen. It's a dead issue because nobody's going to go back and clean it up. You know, it's a dead issue, so, you know, I mean, we can stomp our feet all we want.
That's why we got so much
I went to the election board. Listen, I went to the election board, and they shot me down.
It's never been decided before, Joe. How can it be a dead issue and we've never had a rendering on the matter from any Article 3 court ever?
What's the next step? What do I do, Sarge? What do I do? I went to the election board. They hung up on me. You know, I called back 3 times. They hung up twice, and finally the other guy just stopped arguing. He said, "Well, you going to keep calling us?"
I'd have to know what the laws are.
You need
in your
to go
state.
there. You need to
I'd
go
have to know what the laws are in your state to be
before.
able to answer that question, Joe. I can't answer it. I don't know what the laws are in the state. I don't know.
Listen, man, I read the whole thing on my show several times.
You need to go there in force instead of just little old you.
Well, I know that. You know, we should show up there with 300-400 people.
But Joe, there's a difference between what we talk about with Kamala Harris and what we're talking about with you. I'll bet you there have been dozens of court decisions that are similar to your case. So all they got to do is follow precedent, whatever it is. Now, if they didn't follow precedent in your case, you need to find a way to revive the case and show they did not follow established precedent and law. Because I guarantee you, what you went through is something some other candidate has gone through too. And there's precedent that's been established about it. In the case of Kamala Harris, there has never in the history of our country been an Article 3 court that has precisely defined what an Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 natural-born citizen is. That's the difference.
I know
well,
that.
I'm gonna tell you
We've been over
Joe
this many times.
I'm going to tell you something, Joe Gibson. I'm telling you this from my heart. The shit you go through, I thought that only happened to black folks. I really did.
Well, see, that's good to know, isn't it? It's good to know. It ain't necessarily race-specific.
Yeah, you got that right, man.
You're damn right.
It never ends.
You
didn't hear the latest one, Bianchi.
You guys are talking about, isn't this all fall back on what her parents and where they were established from? Because she was.
Of course it does. They gave her citizenship, Dave. Her Indian mother gave her Indian citizenship. Her Jamaican father gave her Jamaican citizenship under both of those countries' constitutions. How in the fuck can somebody like that be a natural-born citizen with no allegiance to anybody else at birth?
And neither one of them had no American ties. Her parents.
There ain't never been a president in the history of the United States that fit that description except maybe Barack Obama. No other president in the history of the United States has ever met that description of what Kamala Harris is, that they had parents who could have legally given them citizenship in another country.
Why has Donald Trump not brought that to the forefront?
I know. He's been burned with the birther issue. He probably considers it a distraction. I hope, since he ain't got to worry about re-election ever again if he gets elected, that sometime in his presidency he will bring it up.
Or J.D. Vance.
I hope so.
The reason
I can understand him not doing it for purposes of the campaign right now. I'm kind of glad he isn't, to tell you the truth. We can do it, though. Citizens can bring it up. Let us bring it up. We're citizens. We got a right to talk about it. We got a right to bring suit before the courts to have the issue examined. We'll take care of the heavy lifting until he figures it's an opportune time for him to bring it up, if ever.
That's absolutely right. That's supposed to be done by the citizens, not the not the candidate, because the candidate is already walking a tightrope politically.
Right. This is a political decision, not a constitutional one.
I can't believe she ain't.
And I can understand it, even though I hate it. I understand why he's not taking the issue up. And I remember, I hate the fact that he
said that, Sarge. I know. What was Tabe? Cut Tabe off. What was Tabe? What were you saying about this?
I mean, I don't understand why that hasn't come to the forefront. I can understand why Trump hasn't done anything about it, but why haven't her biggest opponents, the low, why haven't the people on the fucking bottom rung of this ladder raised all hell about it and made it at least an object to talk about where other people? I never knew that. It's scary.
Well, I tell you what.
So you're telling
you
me
think she's something?
Broad, this broad.
You should see the intertwine.
She's the vice president already.
You should see the intertwine with Nikki Haley. You should see the intertwine with the damn swamp with Nikki Haley. I mean, that damn intertwinedness goes far and deep with Samantha Powell, Susan Rice, right on down the line.
Yep. So every person that
they got a good thing going on.
So every person that she's ever fucking ran against politically hasn't brought to the forefront this very fact that it should have been addressed probably, I don't know, 25 fucking years ago?
Well, that just lets you know. That just lets you know
right
that
here.
big dollars to be given somewhere.
Jesus Christ.
All right,
we don't
guys.
even have fucking Americans
here.
running the country anymore. Why are we voting?
Yeah.
We don't even have Americans running. The fuck?
Whoa,
Look at that Samantha Powell. I mean, just Google her and see where she's from and who she's tied in with. You're absolutely right. These ain't Americans running the damn country.
It's just like
all right, listen, this is what I got down for the conclusion. Listen to this. Listen to this. Okay, I put down this. I'm not going to read the whole. I'm not going to read the whole 4 pages, but my conclusion was that I brought to the Board of Elections was any challenge to Kamala Harris' eligibility based on a stricter interpretation of natural-born citizen status should be approached with caution, given the substantial legal precedent recognizing birthright citizenship. However, for those contesting the argument, would focus on originalist interpretation and historical intent behind the natural-born citizen requirement. This challenge must therefore be presented and comprehensively addressing the constitutional, historical, and legal precedents and interpreting how these apply to Harris's particular circumstances. The requested outcome would be for a legal determination on whether Harris meets the constitutional qualification to appear on the ballot in North Carolina. This question, if ever a time in our country, needs a clear and precise ruling. So today and in the future, our election process can function in a more and better understanding of just who in our state can hold the most important position in government and fulfill those jobs with never a constitutional question able to rise again pertaining to one's citizenship status. That's what my conclusion was to my challenge.
Let's sum this up in real short to make it real easy. So basically, when you want me to show you my fucking ID to vote for someone, the person that's actually running doesn't have to provide the fucking documents.
You absolutely
Watch
right.
the language.
You got it.
The language, please.
You got it.
Watch the language, please.
Watch my language.
I got commercials already getting stripped from my show. All right, go ahead.
You got to prove you got to prove you eligible to drive and all kind of stuff. But that person that's running for, that's what I'm saying. You make them prove it. They always want you to prove that they ain't eligible. No, you make them prove that they are eligible.
Yeah. We look, anytime they're challenged on a matter of eligibility, it is incumbent on them to prove it because it's a requirement. I mean, it's a requirement they show they're eligible, that they're 35 years of age, 14 years or more of their 35 years of life have been resident in one or more of the states of the union, and they got to be a natural-born citizen. They have to meet those qualifications to be eligible for vice president or president. If they're challenged, they should answer the damn question and prove it.
And with her, Sarge, she got to prove that she's a 14th Amendment citizen. The 14th Amendment doesn't mention any damn thing about natural born. It doesn't mention nothing.
Isn't there something somewhere also about being an attorney and not holding the position?
No. There's nothing about that. No, there isn't.
Yes,
not
there
the
is. Yes, there is. You cannot be an attorney and run for public office. Nope.
Where does it say that in the Constitution?
The 11th. What was it? The 11th Amendment, the original 11th Amendment, or was it the 13th?
Well, what counts is what the amendments are in it now. What are the amendments that it's in now? What does it say? The 11th Amendment.
If they buried the 11th Amendment and changed it without everyone knowing and put hoodwinked everybody, I would say it doesn't matter. You know? I read it to you guys. I read it to you guys.
Yeah, here's what we have to do.
Sorry.
Let's look back.
I guess you weren't paying attention. You should have, maybe listened a little bit better. I read it 3 times to you guys over the last 6 months.
Hey, how many of our
presidents? So they just snuck an amendment in there and nobody noticed.
Oh Lord! I'll see if I can find it.
How is that even possible? They had newspapers back then, and they had
answer your question until I find the document.
They had messengers.
It doesn't matter because you guys aren't going to let me say it anyway.
But the 11th Amendment was ratified in February 7th, 1795. So you're telling me they had another amendment before that time that was replaced by the one that's in there now?
Well, they got the Federal Reserve in place without anybody knowing about it.
Well, no, people didn't read it. I mean, it was available. It was published for people to read. They just didn't take the time to read it. Well, what I'd like to know, though, is how did they manage, because they ratified the 11th Amendment in 1795, February 7th. So how did they how did they replace the one that's in there now with the one that had been in there previously? And when was that one ratified?
How many of our presidents have ever been attorneys? That's my question right now. I'm going to look it up right now. How many of our presidents have ever been an attorney? Let me get my book.
Let's see. Abraham Lincoln was one. Let's see. John Adams was an attorney. So you got John Adams. You got Abraham Lincoln. You got, let me see. I think Martin Van Buren. James Madison was an attorney. So there was a history of attorneys before.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning of the Constitution. And you got to remember, the 11th Amendment, it says the judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. So, there you go.
25 homicide case.
27 presidents have been attorneys.
Who was the attorney? Who was the lawyer in the homicide case? I can't think of his name.
Oh, that was John Quincy Adams, I believe. Yeah, John Adams' son.
Did you guys hear? 27 presidents have been attorneys of the 45.
Yeah, 46, so it's not uncommon for attorneys to be presidents, even at the beginning of the nation.
So yeah, you're like,
and that's where things jacked up. They should be business people.
I see what the ratification would have had to been after the last one of those 27.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys something. I kind of concur with Mississippi. They didn't ratify the 13th or the 14th till 1976. They must have been on to something.
Oh, come on now. Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Look here, guys. I understand people's reluctance to nominate lawyers. Although, like I said, I think when you had John Adams and James Madison, who was the father of the Constitution, you had some fairly decent lawyers eligible because, after all, they were pretty heavily involved in the founding, in the Revolution. So I'll cut them lawyers a pass. But, the ones we've had recently, the one who were just sophist lawyers, oh, hell no, not those kind of lawyers. They use the law as a way to get around the Constitution.
Barack Obama was a civil rights attorney.
Yeah, he's the worst kind.
So they didn't amend or ratify that amendment since him.
No, they absolutely have not. No. So it's just look. That's why the best presidents have been either generals or governors for the most part.
With
some exceptions, but they've been either generals or governors, or what's the other category? I don't think there's been any other category except lawyers, governors, and generals. I can't think of any other particular category of people except for Donald Trump, a business executive. I think he's the first one who didn't have any governmental experience whatsoever before being elected president.
Territorial governors.
Same thing.
Yeah, governor, territorial governor, and lawyers.
Yeah, same thing. That's what they pretty much senators. Let's not forget senators.
Your best your best president would be a business person. I'm gonna tell you the reason why. In the nature of things, business control your politics. Just look around you. It's the businesses. We talk about this company. They control the politics, and the police is controlled by the politicians. Look at all the rioting, Black Lives Matter. The only thing they can do is go to the politicians and see if they can make the police stop hitting them across the heads. But it's the business that control the politicians with their money.
Yeah. Well, I got to agree that we got a problem with the electorate. Mainly, the electorate has to be more discerning, and they're not going to be more discerning when they're educated the way that they are. They're not educated in civics, in history, or anything else. Certainly not in the Constitution. And when they are educated in the Constitution, they're told it's some kind of living, breathing document that's subject to evolution at the whims of the people. Whenever they just feel like it, they just, by popular acclaim, they can deem the Constitution to have evolved, like on illegal immigration, like birthright citizenship literally came about in that manner. And a footnote in another decision from a Supreme Court justice in the case of Pryor versus Doe. That's how we got birthright citizenship in the first damn place.
These goddamn people make my hair hurt.
Well,
man, I cannot
they're increasingly assuming power. I mean, people used to make references to the Constitution all the time when they talked about doing things.
I got another caller, guys. Let me bring another caller on, guys. Let me bring another caller on. Go ahead, private caller. Private caller, go ahead. Private caller, you had your hand up. Go ahead, you're unmuted. All right, I guess they don't want to talk. I'll leave it open for them if they want to talk. Go ahead, guys.
Their voice has been heard.
I don't know. Go ahead, guys. Continue on. I'm searching for this 11th Amendment thing.
Don't worry about it now.
Well, I'm saying, how do you go back and undo the unlawful, unconstitutional insertion of the 11th Amendment with the one that had officially been ratified and somehow removed with nobody noticing?
Oh, God, they did notice, Sarge. I went over this on one of the shows like many times, and you just obviously don't pay attention. I mean, I went over this.
Joe, America, we got other shit to do.
You are.
Let me ask a question here. Okay, I'm not saying. Look, I wasn't around in 1790 or whenever they put this original 11th Amendment, so I don't know if it didn't happen. But I'm saying if the 11th Amendment would be the first amendment after the Bill of Rights was adopted, right? Because the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. So you got the 11th Amendment. It had to have been sent to the states by 2/3 of both houses of Congress. The states get a hold of it. 3/4 of their legislatures had to ratify it or more. And then somehow that would be put in the Constitution once that is done. Now, how did that get removed and nobody noticed it or raised the ruckus about it?
Yeah, it's a miracle that the Bill of Rights came to be what they are. It was on a promise.
Hell, after I've seen some of the things that they brought forward, these guys bring stuff together with 7,000 pages and drop it on these guys' desks the night before they're going to vote on it.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights was ratified after the Constitution was amended. The Bill of Rights was ratified in 1790. And the Constitution itself was ratified in 1787. So you had 3 years of constitutional authority with no Bill of Rights. So the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights was ratified in December of 1791. The original Constitution without the Bill of Rights was ratified in September of 1787. So we had 4 years or so of no Bill of Rights in the Constitution. We were governed constitutionally without the Bill of Rights.
And the Bill of Rights protect you from the states going astray.
Among other things.
The Constitution protects you from the federal government, amongst other things.
So, I mean...
Articles of Confederation?
So what I'm trying to understand is how this amendment, which had to have been ratified by 3/4 of the existing states, was removed and nobody noticed it, and it was replaced with one that was ratified in 1795.
You keep asking that, Sarge. I told you I'll explain it if I find the paperwork. It happens, okay? Some scholars in the 1990s found this, okay? And the people were hoodwinked. It was switched around, the wording, and people did not pay attention to it, okay? I'm telling you, it's just like the corporate United States of America, United States, for America. They change words around. Trust me, they've done it in the past. With
it's pretty remarkable if they did that. I'd like to know how they did it.
Not remarkable, because it was during the Civil War, and a lot of things happened. A lot of things happened that were unconstitutional. That people that they just don't understand.
Well, 1795 is pretty close to the Revolution.
It wasn't 1795. It was during the Civil War when they did this.
No. Well, okay, they did that. Well, yeah, but no. The ratification of the 11th Amendment was in 1795. You said it replaced the original one. So the original one had to be passed in 1795.
Yes, they changed the words. Yes, they changed the wording around. The original.
That did happen, Joe. Is one thing. The court cannot.
1794 and North Carolina, and then what happens is it looks like South Carolina comes in after February 7th, when 1795 North Carolina became the 12th state to approve it. However, John Adams officially announced the ratification until January 8th, 1798, after South Carolina had ratified it, and Tennessee became the 16th state.
Well, I know for sure that Kentucky, Mississippi, and I think one other state might have been They didn't ratify either 13th or 14th Amendment till about 50 years ago.
Yeah,
40 years.
1976, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
But
I remember we were on Downing's show that night.
But it passed over their objection because you don't need 100% of the states. You only need 75% of them.
You're absolutely right. And here's another point. The courts cannot straighten that out. It has to be straightened out by Congress.
That's right. So, I don't look, I don't know how you go back and revisit that one to prevent lawyers from becoming president, because certainly wasn't, like I said, John Adams became president. He was the second president. He was a lawyer. He defended those red.
Yeah, but he wasn't admitted to the bar. But he wasn't admitted to the Bar Association.
Okay. He defended those redcoats in the Boston Massacre, remember? The ones that were accused of murder?
Yes, Sarge, but he wasn't admitted to the bar. Okay? He wasn't at the bar. He did not swear an oath to the Queen.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
What authority do the bar have?
Here, let me read this.
Hell, you got two bars in this country. You got one for black lawyers and one for white. So which one?
They got a bar. The Bar Association has to do with the Queen of England, and it's a long, and the Esquires and all that crap, and
that's the British.
Well, I tell you what, you ain't gonna tell that to what's his name, Benjamin Crump.
Here you guys go. On January 8, 1798, approximately 3 years after the 11th Amendment actual adoption, President John Adams stated in a message to Congress that it had been ratified by the necessary number of states and was now part of the Constitution. New Jersey and Pennsylvania did not take action on the amendment during that era. So neither did Tennessee, which had become the 16th state June 17, 1796. However, on the 25th of 2018, the New Jersey Senate adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution number 75 to ratify the 11th Amendment. So it was on June 25th, 2018, through New Jersey.
No.
Well, if you go back and look at the 13th and 14th Amendment, there wasn't enough members of Congress seated.
That's kind of what this sounds like, too, that there wasn't enough when they were at the 12th.
The Federal Registry, you can read it today. You can read the discussions and everything, the arguments up to the vote and the vote, yeas and nays. You can read them today. They're there. And it has been brought before the courts. The court said we can't straighten that out. That's up to you, Congress, to straighten that out. The courts can't straighten out something that permits it to exist. It ain't going to happen.
So why in the hell did New Jersey come forward in 2018? What was going on then that they need to ratify the 11th?
Symbolism.
What the hell was that?
Symbolism, yeah. If they do symbolic votes, it's not going to change the outcome. The fact that it was ratified over their objection or their non-compliance. Sometimes they don't really object. They just fail to ratify because they can't get sufficient votes in the legislature to pass it. And then later on, as a symbolic gesture, they say, okay, we're going to get with most of the rest of the country, and we're going to decide to ratify the amendment. It doesn't change anything. It's symbolism.
They do things just for the look. Just like Mississippi changed its flag because blacks was complaining about it. Just like down here in Louisiana, they renamed the school from Robert E. Lee to Liberty. They do it for symbolism until they push too far, then they're going to say, hell no, we ain't going no more.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I had a document that was it was hard to. I remember somebody gave it to me, and I had it, and I remember reading it on Donnie's show, and it just went over everybody's heads. I guess I don't know. But I thought
there ought to be a record of it, though, Joe. Where's the record of the substitution? I just don't see how you could do that and not be prominently displayed in the House of Congress.
The government would never be corrupt enough to hide anything from us. I know.
Well, of course they are, but amendment is a little bit different thing. You got to have 2/3 of Congress suggest the amendment. Then you got to have 3/4 of all the legislators in the United States ratify it. It's kind of hard to keep it a secret.
It wasn't back then.
I know they're corrupt enough to do it. I'm just saying, how do you do it given what you got to do to get an amendment ratified?
It wasn't ratified. That's the problem.
That's why it's difficult for me to understand how it occurred.
I know.
They can't get the equal rights.
The corporation and the two parallel constitutions. You just can't wrap your head around it. I've explained it a million different ways.
Maybe I can't, but I'm just saying they can't get the Equal Rights Amendment passed. They've been trying to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed since the 80s, and they haven't succeeded. And we're talking about that every year.
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's a hard thing to get it to the Constitution Amendment. It ain't easy.
Like, for instance,
the funny thing about the Equal Rights, Equal ERA, they gave it a certain length of time, and when the time ran out, I think Carter led a way to extend the time. I think that was a Constitution, but I don't know.
It was. He did. You're right. He did, Bianchi. That's how hard it is to get things that are unpopular amended. They will not let that turkey die. They are determined to try to get that thing through, no matter what the process on.
All right, can you pay attention to this real quick? In our legislative meetings, we have discussed the fact that the lawful state government name was changed to North Carolina American Republic. Back at the time when it was reestablished, we feel that the name of the state of North Carolina under the Constitution of 1776 is what was chosen by the freemen of North Carolina when the government was established and is exactly how it should be called now. The name change in 1997 was for a differentiation between the two governments. The de facto is what was placed over us as a bayonet point, and this fact should not stop us from using the proper name of our government. So we will begin switching over, the name to the state of North Carolina. So the original name of North Carolina was the state of North Carolina. That was 1776. That was the original name of our state, my state anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Was that the original name?
I don't know. But you're saying that their state constitution that existed in 1776 made the official name of the state of North Carolina.
Well, they changed the names of all the states, okay, by since the original Constitution. Their states are different names today. They have different names. They're municipal names now, i.e., they're corporate names. The municipalities, they changed all the names and abbreviations, not by much, but capitalization or a period or a comma, like United States of America.
And what does this have the effect of doing by making this name change? What was the ultimate effect of this?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe.
What I get out of this conversation tonight, the best thing to do, it ain't the only thing, would be if you're going to make some demonstration, that do it at a state level.
I'm back.
Going to Washington, D.C. Ain't shit going to happen up there. They're going to treat you mean and all kind of stuff. They're going to have no chemical toilet, lock you up.
If you get locked up out of state, you're in deep shit.
Well, I keep saying the electoral votes of all those states that changed their state election laws in violation of Article 2 of the Constitution should not have been counted until they were sent back to the states for reconsideration because they changed the state law illegally. The Constitution says the legislature has to change election law. Those states should not have been counted.
That's right.
They did it anyway.
And nobody got held accountable for what they did either. Nobody. Nothing changed except the fact that they changed president.
I mean, think about it for a minute. Now, here's what the Constitution says. Here's what the Constitution says in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. Each state shall appoint, right after the comma, this is what it says. Each state shall appoint, comma, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct. Now, you can't get no more clear than that. And yet you had a governor and the judiciary, depending upon which state you're talking about, without legislative consent, without legislative consent in an emergency, the governor can declare this or that, like, say, COVID would constitute such an emergency, and the governor would be able to make a declaration. But no, they didn't have that. They just did it after the fact. And nobody challenged the vote and let the vote go through. Like it was some kind of fucking like it was some kind of technicality. And it wasn't a technicality. It was a constitutional requirement.
Well, just real quick on the traveling thing. A citizen of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in several states, right? So you go right to travel, privileges and immunities clause, right? It goes, the Supreme Court has long recognized the right to travel from one state to another under the privileges and immunities clause, as well as other constitutional provisions. For example, the court held that a state does not constitutionally limit access to medical care to its own residents and any access to non-residents without interfering with the right to travel. So do we have a right to travel? No, you don't, because they regulate it. You know, if I don't want to get a driver's license, I can't travel, right? But the Constitution says I have a right to travel.
How about
which is it?
But they haven't taken away your method of travel by other means. It would be different if they say, well, you just can't travel from state to state, period, by any means, whether you hire a conveyance, whether you go on horseback, whether you go on a bicycle or whatever. The only thing it applies to is motor vehicles, operation of motor vehicles on public roads.
They tell me how to travel.
Yes, they tell you. They regulate one manner of travel. That's the operation of motor vehicles on public roads.
Yeah, they can't tell you not to fly.
I'm not driving a motor vehicle.
You could ride a bicycle. You can ride a horse.
If you are an inch off the ground, you're in FAA airspace. They can't tell you that you can't fly. That's true.
Oh, yes,
if
they
you
could.
I tell you what, if you are a 16th of an inch off the ground, you are in FAA airspace.
Yep. If you're not supported by any sort of means, mechanical means, like a wire or a cable. If you got an independent flight going on,
I can't find it right
now. You're subject to regulation by the FAA.
I will find it eventually. You know, I had it, man, for so long, I remember, because I wanted to point that out, and I did, and then, now we talk about it, and I can't find it. Unreal.
I heard something about flying like you guys are talking about, where on your property, how it goes vertically up. Something can be done, I forget what it is, from the state. I heard these guys arguing about it over the property taxes, and I told them, I'll go pound salt. Ain't never paying another one. Sold my house, you can kiss my ass.
Yeah. Well, too many goddamn laws. I give you that much.
No, if you're off the ground, that's the FAA. You're in one of their airspaces. I mean, it's E, G, it's not an F, A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Is the earth round or
like
flat?
an upside down wedding cake.
I mean, you got to remember now, of course, obviously, we're not talking about if you're suspended by a cable, like if you got, you're on a hoist. That doesn't count. But we're talking about independent travel. You're levitated from the earth by some independent mechanical or other means. Then you're in airspace.
Did you guys see the news about the guy that got hit, or he was riding a bike? I don't know where. I think it's in New York, and he got almost hung, choking, ripped him off his bicycle from a thing where these Jewish guys, when they're trying, I forget what holiday it is, but you're not allowed to do something on a certain day. And so what they do is they connect all these houses and these buildings with these ropes or whatever, these strings or whatever the hell they're using to try and Mickey Mouse their way out of not following, I think it's called Shabbat. And they do this so that because they're all linked together, they can all do this shit. I don't know, turn a light switch on or whatever the hell they're doing. But this guy hit it with his bicycle. Now they're all under scrutiny because why are they doing that? If they're God's chosen people, why are they trying to screw around and get out of their own damn ways of religion?
Oh, Sarge, it's the missing 13th Amendment. I got it wrong. The missing 13th Amendment. Here it is right here.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
See there?
All right. Yeah, it says the missing 13th Amendment. No lawyers allowed in public office.
Joe, listen. Listen, Joe, listen. God damn it, you're not going to listen to me anyway if I find it.
What are you talking about?
Familiar? That's what you sound like a little bit ago. Joe.
All right, now listen to this.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question, Joe. Have you talked to Mike?
Go ahead, ask.
Have you talked to Michael Singer?
No, I haven't talked to him for about a month, actually. About a month and a half now.
Well,
yeah, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But, all right, listen to this, Sarge. Listen, let me clear this up. The following investigative research project is of paramount importance. It is perhaps the most consequential ever undertaken regarding the foundation documents of the United States of America. Truly a more serious place. This clandestine plot to wrongfully after the U.S. Constitution and subvert the American Republic. Should this British conspiracy be subjugate to the USA, which was directly responsible for the excising of the original 13th Amendment, ever become common knowledge, virtually the entire U.S. Congress would be deemed illegitimate. In view of the current state congressional affairs, it is no wonder that lawyers and attorneys could not be trusted to responsibly handle the people's business. Their loyalties have always lied elsewhere. It is now well-known fact of life that the legal class of the USA has degenerated into the most untrustworthy and treasonous, deceitful and dishonest. This certain eventuality was deeply feared by the founding fathers of the American Republic. It was for this very reason that the original 13th Amendment was carefully deliberated and legally ratified. However, it was then unlawfully removed from the U.S. Constitution during the tumult of the Civil War, after being completely ignored for decades. All right, as follows. In the winters of 1983, research expert David Dodge and former Baltimore police investigator Tom Dunn were researching for evidence of government corruption in public records stored in the Belfast Library on the coast of Maine. By chance, they discovered the library's oldest authentic copy of the Constitution of the United States, printed in 1825. Both men were stunned to see this document included a 13th Amendment that no longer appears on current copies of the Constitution. Hear that, Sarge? And it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah,
lawyers are not supposed to hold public office.
I understand they call it the Titles of Nobility Agreement. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, it goes into the nobility thing.
Okay, Titles of Nobility Agreement, right. And they're saying that because they had a bunch of new states that were being admitted into the Union at the time, and because of the delay in the time, it had been ratified by the Virginia legislature, that they never got around to officially recognizing it as having been ratified. And I think this was like early 19th century, right?
Well, it goes like this. So it began a 7-year constitutional puzzle